Hey Tuskegee family, this is Carrington Thompson, your A student trustee, and today we are doing Men Trust Men. Today we have three individuals with us. Introduce yourselves.
Hey, I'm Chandler.
Hey guys, I'm Deshaun.
And I'm Tyrus McNeil.
We are so glad to have y'all here today, and we're just gonna start it off with kind of a cliche question, but what does it mean to be a man to y'all?
I feel like for me, I feel like it's taking responsibility for all your actions.
For me, I believe it's taking care of the people around you, and again, taking responsibility for your actions.
And for me, it's something just holding an aspect that's bigger than yourself, being somebody that's actually just accountable and reliable.
I agree. I feel like with me being a man, I feel like if you would have asked me this last year, I feel like each year, especially as like I grow in age, but like my definition changes. I feel like what it means to be a man when I was 15 is different now at 20.
Yeah.
For me, I think being a man is really just sometimes doing the difficult things in life, but also being self-aware of who you are and being okay with that.
Yeah.
So I know with me, and y'all can answer this, but like what people or individuals in your life made y'all become the man you are today? I know for me it was the individuals. I didn't have a dad growing up, so it was either those teachers in high school, or it was the teachers here, or my mom's friends growing up. So who was it for y'all?
I mean, for me, kind of similar. Like my dad's in my life, but my mom grew up a single mom with me and my brother. I've had various mentors, especially as I've gotten into college, that have been role models for me. But for me, it's always been my granddad. My granddad taught me how to drive, still teaching me how to cook. But he embodied what it is to be a man to me as I was growing up, and even more now as I'm getting into the young adult spectrum of my life. And he had 3 girls, and him and my grandma have been together for over 50 years. So when I think of what a man is and who I aspire to be like, it's always my granddad.
Yeah, I can piggyback off that. My grandpa and my dad, they always were very big role models in my life, especially the fact of being a 4th generation cattle rancher. They always had an aspect or an interpretation of, hey, you gotta handle business at a certain time, do this at a certain time, so you can actually understand, like, okay, I have to organize myself. I have to be prepared for certain situations, I have to adapt to certain situations. And that kind of built me to where I am today, putting myself in a position of I'm always active in certain things. Like, okay, well, I grew up this way, so it's nothing new. I was put in a position where like, hey, you go out here and do the farm work, then you will come back here, we're gonna read something, do a little work here, do some work here and inside, and go right back outside.
Yeah.
And that's in a span of 2 or 3 hours, but in my life, I'm doing that now. I'm like, oh, this is something new. Like, this ain't nothing new. This is normal for me. So I feel like my grandfather and my dad put me in a position just to be ready for not only when I was at that time, but in the future. I feel like they really impacted me in that way.
I feel like this is pretty much the same for me. Like, I grew up without my dad being involved in my life, but I had uncles and I had other men in my life that showed me different things. But I also feel like the type of men that were involved in my life, a lot of different things that they showed me or said to me has kind of like impacted the way that I think about certain things now, like showing like emotion and different things like that. I feel like I'm not able to be as vulnerable as I would like to be in certain situations. So, but yeah.
Furniture, they always had an aspect or an interpretation of, hey, you gotta handle business at a certain time, do this at a certain time, so you can actually understand, like, okay, I have to organize myself. I have to be prepared for certain situations, I have to adapt to certain situations. And that kind of built me to where I am today, putting myself in a position of I'm always active in certain things. Like, okay, well, I grew up this way, so it's nothing new. I was put in a position where like, hey, you go out here and do the farm work, then you will come back here, we're gonna read something, do a little work here, do some work here and inside, and go right back outside. And that's in a span of 2 or 3 hours, but in my life, I'm doing that now. I'm like, oh, this is something new. Like, this ain't nothing new. This is normal for me. So I feel like my grandfather and my dad put me in a position just to be ready for not only when I was at that time, but in the future. I feel like they really impacted me in that way.
I feel like this is pretty much the same for me. Like, I grew up without my dad being involved in my life, but I had uncles and I had other men in my life that showed me different things. But I also feel like the type of men that were involved in my life, a lot of different things that they showed me or said to me has kind of like impacted the way that I think about certain things now, like showing like emotion and different things like that. I feel like I'm not able to be as vulnerable as I would like to be in certain situations. So, but yeah.
So, for those of y'all that, didn't have a father figure growing up, what life lessons, do you feel like the life lessons that you gained from those individuals growing up that has taught you the kind of man you want to be in the future? I mean, I know for me, I still struggle every day on a day-to-day just trying to figure out how to match societal norms of what it means to be a man, then what I've been taught growing up, then just like, I feel like it's always a constant battle with myself of like what the world wants, what I want, and then so like how do y'all go about that?
I think for me, for the most part, I just pull from people around me. My granddad used to emphasize to always have people around you that are smarter than you that you can learn from. Like, he used to say, if you're always the smartest person in the room, you're the dumbest, because you're not putting yourself in a position where you can grow, where you can, where you're bound to ask questions. And, people that I've put around me, especially within my faith, have allowed me to grow in my faith and as a man. And I think it's very important to keep those people around you, because not only will they help you grow, but they'll help you stay on track. They can be those people that kind of check you when you're going wrong. And one of the things that I've learned from some of the guys around me is just having integrity. Doing the things that you don't want to do and doing the right thing when nobody's looking is very prominent in being a man, because it sets the foundation for what it is to be a man to me, in my personal.
So in the moments where you have to, and it might have not even came yet, but the moments where you have to walk alone in that and stand firm, when you have to, be your own man and be that, what you have morally grown up learning. I mean, how do you do that?
So, and it has happened. My mentor of mine told me the moment you become a man is when you realize nobody's coming to help you, and that you kind of have to stand firmly in the position or the situation you're in and kind of literally crawl yourself out of it. And, it was very hard. The only thing that kept me sane is my faith, and, me being a strong believer catapulted my progress. But I'd be lying to you if I said it was something that was just easy and I thought I was just gonna get by. It's something that quite literally a very pivotal part of my life in general, and in college too. So,
I feel like for me, it's communication. I feel like that's something that like I work on to this day. Like I feel like I lack communication with others. I feel like I like giving communication out and letting people know how I feel about different things. I feel like I just don't like talk about it enough. It's more so like, I feel like sometimes I feel like everything always goes back to that I'm scared to say anything because like I don't want to show emotion. Like I feel like everything always goes back to that, like you shouldn't cry because crying shows weakness and different things like that. Like I feel like everything always goes back to that.
You think that limits you?
Yeah. Like I feel like sometimes like it's hard for me to, I feel like sometimes I might act out with my emotions instead of actually saying how I feel about something.
I think that's, and I've even felt guilty of this, like therapy. I know a lot of men will say, oh, I don't want to talk about my emotions. I don't know if that's because nobody's ever like valued them or, so I feel like now, because I can proudly say I'm in therapy now. And so the amount of learning I've done about myself, the amount of learning I've learned about others, I really wish more men would get into therapy because it shows you how to be more loving towards yourself, healthy for those not only around you, but there are people that are kind of not counting on you to be healthy, but I feel like sometimes as men we forget when we hold this load we kind of affect those around us, and it kind of becomes a more toxic environment because we're holding on to something.
Yeah, I understand. Especially in the fact that like I was saying, when people don't have father figures, it kind of affects how you treat certain situations after the fact. When you get to that point after college, you get to the point like, okay, I'm actually starting a family. Your understanding of, well, I didn't have a father figure at the time being, I kind of got to show myself of worthy to my kids. I got to show myself worthy to the world. When in reality, you don't have to. You really can be out there. You can be a person who's not always great, but just in certain norms, it's like, hey, I'm a man.
Yeah.
I got to suck it up. I got to go about my day, but it's kind of hard in that aspect of things.
And to, some guys who don't have that father figure in your life to kind of guide you through that, what helped me is I learned what to do by what not to do. So I learned exactly how I wanted to treat people or how I wanted to be treated by the negative. Like, exactly how this feels, it doesn't work, it doesn't feel good. Like, so do the opposite of that, or aim to do the opposite of that, and you'll be just fine. Yeah.
Okay, so next question. What is y'all's mentality when it comes to the typical thoughts of being a man, whether that's protector, breadwinner, etc.? Because I feel like the world thinks men think we have it all together. So what do y'all think?
Well, I'd love to start off by saying, me having the people in my life and the father figures that I had, it was always like, hey, you gotta be the best of the best, no matter what. You can't show no sign of weakness. And that kind of plays with your mental, because like you're a human being in the day, you're gonna have times when you can't push that through. You can't push your way through to something. You can't finish the way you want to finish. But then that also puts you in a position where like, man, like, how can I be better? Like, how can I thrive to do this right? How can I show up? How can I be not only an asset to myself, but to people around me? And then you start thinking like, well, I'm messing up. Oh, like I'm putting myself down, overthinking. I'm putting myself in a situation where it's like, I'm not making enough money for everybody now. Now everybody's in a position where like, oh, I gotta find how to make money for the family. I gotta find how to do this. I gotta find how to do that. Now everybody's scrambling, it's unorganized, and now we're just in a position where like, I'm mad at you because you want to do this. I'm mad at you because you're stressing me out. Now you're mad at me because I'm not doing what I'm supposed to do. And then that's like, well, it's all put in a position where men just have to be on top. And unfortunately, in today's society, in today's stereotypical way, that especially for Black African American men, that's horrible. Especially for people who are like, yeah, I came out of poverty, now I'm trying to be the richest person I can be just so I don't want to see my family in poverty. But in reality, like, that's a once in a lifetime opportunity for some people. That opportunity to come out of poverty, to come to an actual normal life. I get my mom out of here, I get my dad out of here, I get my family out of this situation and put them in a better one. That's like the goal for every African American male. And that's my goal for at least, because when it comes to my family, we weren't always put in a good position. We had to fight for everything. My family never was able to get something they wanted without having to fight for it. That was for land, that's for situations, connections. You're not always, as an African American male, nothing will never be handed to you. Woo! My parents used to always say, if something says free, that label is not free. You're gonna pay for it with blood, sweat, and tears. You're gonna pay for it with a heartbreak. You're gonna pay for it with a time down by yourself. You're gonna pay for it by you praying to God. Because at the end of the day, the only person that can really get you out of a hole is God. The only person that can get you out of a situation without breaking down, really saying, I can't do it no more, is God himself. And so I feel like the normal just, am I going to make money? Am I going to be a protector? Am I going to be the person that everybody wants to be? It's just like, I don't know. You can't know unless you actually put yourself in a position to be vulnerable. And I feel like that situation, you really can't have a mentality of like, I gotta be top of the top. Because if you think you're already at the top of the top, you would never be at the top of the top. And so like I said, I think that mentality situation, you gotta put it all in God's hands at the end of the day. But I hope men just know at today's society that you don't gotta be a stereotype. Being a stereotype is something that's on paper, but it's not something that can be real. So that's my understanding today.
To play off of that, I feel like everything always goes back to me just being a little boy and always being told that, when you get older, you have to make sure you provide for your family and different things like that. But I feel like in general, I feel like society puts so much pressure on men to do a lot of different things like provide, protect, and all those things. I feel like those things, you should do those things, but I feel like it's like looked upon as this is what you're supposed to do, and you know everybody else, like everybody's depending on you to do this, and it can be very stressful, cause a lot of stress.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the time.
I think the whole stereotype in general dehumanizes men in general, especially black men.
Yeah.
Because for the simple fact of being like the protector, provider, that's what we want to be naturally as a man. I think that's what we want to be. But it dehumanizes it. I think it dehumanizes to the point of just being those things instead of being a person, right? You're a person before you're anything. Like I'm a black man before I'm this and all these other titles, right? So, and I think like the whole notion of like being a strong black man, strong black woman dehumanizes us. And I hate the notions. I hate the whole notion of being, you know, a strong black man and a strong black woman because it quite literally takes all the humanity, strips you of your humanity, and you are subject to being that one thing. Like growing up around so many women, like you hear it all the time of being a strong black woman and being the mom and the dad and providing for your kids and stuff like that. And I saw it firsthand. Like that's what my mom was to me. Right? If anything, for the most part, my mom was my hero. But like so many nights for her where she made sure me and my brother were good and she could have been struggling and we wouldn't have known about it. And that whole strong black woman thing of her being a strong black woman fed into that. Of her being like, okay, like I'm a strong black woman, I can do this, I can do this, blah, 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 blah. You know, A, B, and C or whatever, but it quite literally strips you from being a person. Especially for men, I think that's where the stigma of, you know, mental health and you know, making sure everybody's okay before you and all those things come, because you have to be that strong black man and you have to be that you know, invincible kind of person for your kids and your wife or your significant other, whatever the case may be. Like it makes it so hard to progress as a man, whether that's growing with your mental health, because you constantly have this societal burden of trying to be the best, and you know we all strive for that in general, just with personal ambition. But on top of society wanting you to be in this box of being a strong black man or providing or protecting or whatever, it quite literally makes your mental health worse because you're always stressing about it.
Yeah, especially for me, y'all. Sometimes the phrase is true. You are your worst enemy in a way. Like the amount of stress I put on myself, trying to be the best here, trying to be all these places at one time. It is very dehumanizing, and it can become exhausting because like there's only one of me, but it's like, especially when you're trying to beat this like imposter syndrome. That's really which after a certain point
But you eventually burn out.
You do, and it's like
We feed it to it ourselves.
And it's like probably like late August. So there was a moment I literally looked in the mirror, and it was just like I didn't even know who I was, and that's just so it kind of like threw me
Like
off.
also recognize yourself. Like you have put yourself through so much stress, and you have been through so much, and you see this idea of yourself, this perfect vision of yourself, but in reality, the only person that knows that vision is God. Like you can't like sit there and just like make this vision of yourself, and if you force yourself to be that person, and you just literally burn out, like it will kill you.
Because that's really what it is. Like the second you put yourself in a box of only being, you know, your titles, only being student trustee or only being whatever your title is, like it quite literally takes you down that road of burning out. Like you said, like you have to realize that we're not machines. You know, like we're people first, and not only are we black men, but again we're like a person. Before us being black or a man or anything, we're a person. And just like every other person, you have to take care of yourself.
And to piggyback on what you just said about black men, some people have the title of black man and then their name. I'm a black man, but I'm also Tyrus McNeil. But in reality, it should be I'm Tyrus McNeil, a black man, right? Yes. It's like I'm a black man. Oh, you know. Oh, I'm a black man, and Tyrus McNeil. Like, okay, he's a black man.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, in that situation, you You go to interview, they see you, oh, it's a black man. They don't say, oh, that's Tyrus McGill. Oh, that's a black man.
So that's what they see first.
That's what you see first. But in reality, it should be like, oh, that's Tyrus. That's not a black man. That's a man who can lead. That's a man who can do things himself. That's a man who can persevere. That's a man who has resilience, accountability. That's not just a person with skin color. That's a great way to put understanding mentality right there. If you have a mentality of, I'm a black man, I gotta do black man things. I gotta be a black man who just goes around, make money, be reliable, do this and that. And no, like, be your person. Just be your name. Be the person that God provides you to be. God didn't tell your parents, I want to name that person that for that reason. That's your name. You own up to that name. Don't own up to black man. So I like how you just really said that black man more. That's really good for sure.
All right, thank y'all so much for being here. I appreciate y'all for opening up, having a real men trust men conversation. For those of y'all that are still watching, make sure you follow the Instagram at @TUStudentTrustee. Make sure you go and subscribe to the YouTube. If there's anything you want to see, the link is in the bio. Just fill it out. I mean, we want to hear from you. We want to know what the student body needs. We're ready to have more conversations like this. And that's it for Men Trust Men. I can't wait to see y'all later.